And the fundamental law of life, the fundamental law, the basic law of life is the law of cause and effect. The law of cause and effect, what's that? It's the law of karma, as they call it in the East. And it was put out by Jesus very simply in his time, in a way that would be understood by the farmers of his time. He says, as you sow, so shall you reap. That's the law of cause and effect. It sounds simpler, so simple that nobody pays any attention to it. But it's the basic law of life. As we think, moment to moment, as we act, moment to moment, we set in motion causes. The effects stemming from these causes make our lives, for good or for ill, both individually and socially and globally. So whatever we think has to be harmless. If this is a real law and a basic law of life, it has to be harmless. Otherwise there would be no equilibrium. We would be at war all the time. Well, mankind has shown that can have wars lasting hundreds of years. The 100 years, we just, oh, it's history, yeah. Millions of people die in these conditions. And we now have no option but to end war forever. Because with the nuclear bombs and the armament today, we can destroy all life, human and subhuman alike. It's up to us. We have to do it. We have to make the decision. Are we ready to change? Many people say, yes, I'm ready, but what should I do? I don't know what to do. I'm longing to change. I hate the present way of life. I hate the competition. I hate the greed. I hate the selfishness. Wherever I come upon it, I will try to live my life apart from all of this. How can you do it? How can you get rid of war? It's obvious the number one thing we have to do is to get rid of war. Well, don't believe me, but think what the masters, how the masters look at it. And the masters, believe it or not, believe them or not, it's up to you, have gone through the whole of the human evolution and become perfected as far as this planet is concerned. There are higher planets, more perfectionment, but our masters are perfect. And the master of all the masters is the Lord Maitreya. He holds the office of world teacher in our spiritual hierarchy of masters. And they look up to him as we would look up to the masters. And those who know them do look up to the masters for guidance, for inspiration, for the enunciation of truth. And Maitreya says, to get rid of war is not so difficult. It's really very simple. You just have to have a change of heart, you know. That's all. You just have to change your heart. Send it out to be cleaned, you know. Come back, dry cleaned. Dry cleaned heart. You have to look at life differently. You have to look at yourself differently to understand why we are here, what we're here for, why we are in incarnation at all. Have you ever thought, why are we here? What's the meaning of life? Nobody can tell us why we're here. Why do people somehow die just as infants. What's the purpose? Is God cruel and hurts some families by killing babies, but allowing other nasty families to grow old and in ease? Many people think there's someone called God who is arranging it all. God doesn't do that. We do the arranging. And we do it through the law of cause and effect. As we think, so we are. As we think beyond who we are, we create the conditions of what we see around us. We all do it. The pain and the suffering of the world is made by us, not by God. God has a completely different view, because God's a different idea, completely different idea from most people's vision of it. Everybody in this audience is God. Everybody, without exception. Perfect God. Creative, rich in ideas, full of love. All of that is there in every single individual. At their best. At their very best. But most people are not at their best. Most people are at work. They're working all day. They're working just to get enough food for their families, to feed their families, to pay the rent, to pay for the schooling and for health care and all the rest of it. All of that takes money, and everybody's involved in working for money. We have to do it to live. Are we born for that? Is that what life is about? I suggest it isn't. It's become that because we have come to wrong conclusions, and we have disobeyed the laws of life. And the fundamental law of life is the law of cause and effect. And therefore, we have to be harmless, because if we're destructive, we're destroying the equilibrium of everybody. You cannot be destructive and be creative at the same time. You can either create or destroy. But most of us think we have to be destructive because our governments are destructive. It's men, destructive men in governments, in the Pentagon, and in the White House, and in the House of Commons, and in the various governments of the world who make the laws. They make the laws. And these laws involve war. But we cannot afford another war. Another war would destroy all life on earth. So what can we do? We're hard-pressed. We're up against it. We have only one option, and that is to end war forever. Forever. And if we could do that at a stroke, we would transform all life on earth. So how do we get to stopping war? We have to create trust. We have to get rid of injustice in the world.